Hey, Robert, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
My name is Robert Boog, and I'm an author, real estate owner, broker. I even have written some songs, so aspiring songwriter too.
Love it. Oh, I would love if you could tell us what your book is about.
Well, have you ever wondered why people doubt that Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare? I mean, his name is in the first folio and the old quartos, the sonnets, his pictures there. His friends claimed he was an actor. Um, but it's kind of like the trial of Scott Peterson. I don't know if you saw that on Netflix, but at first you kind of think he might be innocent, but then as the evidence gathers, you realize that there isn't just one aha moment. It's kind of like a gathering of all the evidence that points a picture. And in my case, what I do is I take William Shakespeare, and this is a fictional novel too, because he is brought back from the dead to appear in a courtroom, and also the lawyer for Edward de Vere, the protagonist, I guess, is able to go back in time, and so we get to see the evidence, which is brand new. I mean, what I noticed was the spelling is similar. So Edward de Vere, for example, spells the word "you" Y-O-W. He changes the U for a W. And in the original texts of Shakespeare, we see that he does this when he spells like the word Douglas. He spells Dowglas like 38 times. The word hour, instead of Hour, he spells it Hower. And he spells the word enjoy the same way that Edward de Vere does, Inoye. I mean, it's just a weird spelling. So, I mean, if you were a teacher in a classroom and you have two students, um, one spelling the same way as the other, it might cause you to wonder what's going on. And that's kind of what my book doesn't proclaim that this is this. It's a fictional book. It's a love story, actually. So it tries to answer the question: why didn't Edward de Vere in real life didn't talk to his wife for 5 years, and then they got back together in real life? And so it's a love story, kind of explaining what happened. So it's now some people will say, well, why would people try to hide this if he was the real author? Why go through try to hide him? Why didn't he openly say I was the author? And there is a theory called the Prince Tudor theory that Edward de Vere actually had an affair with Queen Elizabeth, and they had a love child named Henry Roseley. And since the Queen Elizabeth called herself the Virgin Queen, it would go against her brand. Plus, it would also change the succession in England. So instead of James the First being the king, it should have gone to Henry Roseley. So it's kind of like they wanted to keep that out of the public eye, I think. But that I don't really go into that. Um, I know you're going to ask me who the book is geared towards, but it's for people who like mysteries. If you like TV shows like Dateline, or solving mysteries on 48 Hours, or these programs like that, this is a real life mystery. And in the past, scholars have had the upper hand. It was difficult to get this information, but now that we have the internet that's open 24/7, anyone can be an amateur sleuth. And if you're kind of like Monk or Columbo, or you just love words, like a lot of writers, I think, would be really interested in something like in a mystery like this. And some of the books that explain things to the reader are really expensive. Like these authors that write books, I think that they're trying to sell them to libraries. So the price tags on them are over $200 for a lot of them. So it makes it kind of intimidating. But So I priced the book at like $6 and tried to just get as many people into seeing why there is a question, just to begin with.
Love that. What inspired you to write your book?
I think it was out of spite. I think um, it was kind of like the carrot and the stick kind of thing. Someone who read another book I had written about Shakespeare, because I wrote two or three nonfiction books on him, and she read it and she said, I think that you could write a really good fiction book. I think you could pull this off. And I didn't think so. I didn't really have that confidence because I thought the dialogue would be cringeworthy, trying to write a historical fiction kind of thing. And so I sent her the first. I wrote a chapter and I sent it to her, and I said, something like this, and she said, all caps, yeah. So then that, I guess, gave me the boost that I needed. So
Love it. When writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
yeah, this is for the mystery lovers that and people who like love stories, or a different kind of love story, because this is a little bit different in that we're trying to figure out why these people are in love. Um, Edward de Vere, in real life, he went to Italy and he left like in January, and then was gone for a year. And when he came back, his wife was had given birth to a daughter in July. And so the reason he didn't talk to her for 5 years is he believed that he, had been made a cuckold or had been cheated on. And so the question is, how did they get back together then? Or, it just, so if people like that kind of thing, and um, there isn't really an answer for it, it's just, and that's why this is a fictional book, that this is my own little spin on it. And,
Love it. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
um, I was tricked by my fourth grade teacher. She said she liked what I wrote. So that kind of started my little writing journey, I guess. Um, and actually, it wasn't my teacher. It was the principal, because my fourth grade teacher. Okay, so I was born in Minnesota and I moved to California when I was 10. And my fourth grade teacher had us write a story in class. Okay, so I wrote the story, turned it in, and then the next thing I knew, I had to go to the principal's office with my mother and my teacher, and she accused me of like plagiarism, like I had written this somehow in class, and like copied it from someone or somewhere. And so it was a big deal. And so the principal had me, um, come to her class, or come to her office the next day, and I had to write another story. After that, she moved me to the sixth grade English. So she said she liked my writing, and so that's kind of like.
Love it. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Okay, so I'm kind of like a believer in rewarding yourself. I think as a writer, you need to be a little selfish. So what I would do, or what I'd like to do, is when I'm writing, I will reward myself. So I know you're going to ask me what your favorite drink is when you're writing and things like that, but the truth is that I save that for like a reward. If I do, you know, one chapter today, or you know, finish this part, I will go to Starbucks, or I will, get a massage, or whatever I think is something that would interest me. So I don't know if I've answered your question,
That's
but
all good.
I do, when I first start writing. I am like my first draft usually involves wine. Like after I finish this, I will have a glass of wine. Then if I get three chapters in, then I will have a glass of wine while I'm writing the fourth. Or I think of like different little rewards like that. And so it makes it more fun.
Love it. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Um, I don't need anything really. I do my best work actually when I'm busy. So I'm kind of like trying to fill in gaps of time by writing. So I the only thing I really need is a yellow line pad and a pen, and that's usually where I write my first draft. I'm old school like that, where if I get something tangible down, then I figure I know where I need to know where I'm going to end, basically. But other than that, just a pen and a yellow pad.
Love it. And what is your favorite writing snack or drink? Since you mentioned you use it as a reward, what has been your favorite food
It's probably
related reward?
yeah, probably wine. Probably wine. It's like okay. I'm not a big drinker, but I will. And sometimes I'll say, I'm going to have this glass of wine and it's going to be so good. And I can hardly wait. And then when I finish it, then I'm thinking, it's too late now. I'm not going to really enjoy it. So I'll save that till tomorrow or something. But yeah, that or I'll go to Starbucks. But
What's your favorite Starbucks drink then?
I'm a chocolate lover. For Lent, one time I gave up alcohol, coffee, and a chocolate. And I found that I have a deep craving for like dark chocolate. So I broke. That was the only one that I broke. I I I guess I'm addicted to chocolate. I mean, I don't know. It just I have something in my brain that says I need dark chocolate.
Love it. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
I read all over the place. I love Michael Connolly, the crime fiction stuff, Scott Turow. I mean, I love I read anything. So, and with this, I've been reading. So when I'm writing, I'm not reading, but when I stop writing, that's when I read. So it's kind of like, now I'm ordering books right now and just playing around, seeing what's out there and seeing what's on the bestseller list, and kind of choosing right now.
Love it. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
Um, I I would have to say like Pearl Buck. I think it was kind of. I read one of her books, Imperial Woman. I think when I was like 10 years old, and I was, or maybe I was 12 or something. But I remember like thinking like it brought me to a different land and a different place with queens and this imperial palace, and I don't know, it just took me to a whole different world that I fell in love with. And so and of course, the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. I read all that, but that I think that first book was, I think it was a Pearl Buck book, actually.
Love it. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
Well, I got into the self-help genre. I'm in real estate. So I found Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill when I was probably 16 or 17, something like that. And I really enjoyed that book and all of those kinds of um, just the 1 minute manager, the 1 minute salesperson. I'm a student of psychology, so I read in sales. I was always trying to figure out if there is a secret to, like, I asked myself this question: why do people buy things? I mean, is there a certain trigger inside that makes you select one thing over another? And so I started to study that. I mean, I kind of got into like a deep dive in that. And sure enough, there are certain psychological triggers. And so that I really became a student of psychology and just to answer it, it's kind of like I'm like a dog with a bone. Once I get interested in something, then I, just keep gnawing on that same bone and stuff.
Love it. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something new, you automatically grab it?
Well, that would have to be like Michael Connolly, all the Bosch stuff that's been on TV, and the Lincoln Lawyer, all of that stuff. He's the stories take place here in Los Angeles, and so when you're watching on TV, you'll say, oh, "Okay, I know where that is. I know where his house is. I know where the LAPD is." And so when they ride along different places, and in fact, someone told me that my real estate company was named in one of his books, but it was I bought his that book to see, but it wasn't my company. But it's kind of funny. And we've actually had like NCIS has filmed it at my office before, and so they do. Well, they did some filming. Like it was funny. It was supposed to take place in Virginia, and then I could see one of our signs in the background. So it was kind of funny like that too. So, but
Love it.
yeah, Michael Connolly's a big one.
What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Well, in sales, especially in real estate, um, you're required to prospect. I mean, the idea that people will just come to you is something that you learn right away. That people don't come to you; you've got to go out and find them. And so I used to do all these phone calls every day, where I would take a telephone book and call like 100 people every day. And after a while, you get tired of doing that. And so I know that one time my wife said to me, like, you know, what is, what do I have to do? Put a gun to your head to make you prospect, I think she said. And then it dawned on me, like, oh, so I ran off to Walmart and I bought a timer and I came back and I started timing myself. So I figured, yeah, what if somebody did put a gun to my head and I had 30 minutes where I had to make these calls? And if I didn't do it in 30 minutes, they would, shoot my kids or wife and stuff. So I make up these little games, I guess. And so with reading or writing anything, so I got into that. That's kind of how I got into songwriting, actually. I put a timer for 18 minutes and try to write something creatively. And I know a lot of times you'll hear from people, I can only write when I'm feeling good. I can only write when I'm happy. I can only, you know, do it if this is there. And what I did by putting on a timer, it forces you to, it's kind of like prospecting. You can't prospect only when you feel good because um, it just doesn't work like that. So if you're serious about, if you want to read, if you want to write, I would say get a timer, use your iPhone. Um, but I actually had a like an egg timer kind of thing where I'd put it to 18 minutes and or even if your life, for example, I used to spend a lot of time with emails where I wanted, I would have 30 emails and responding to them. So I would put a timer. I'm only going to put, and respond to emails for 12 minutes or something, and then that I'm going to go on. Um, so, so, okay. So what happened is I would be writing creatively for 18 minutes, and if I couldn't think of something, you know, to write, I would repeat what I'd written before just to get myself started again. And I would do it on my same yellow pad. And I use this yellow pad. I mean, I carry it along with me. Like this seller was showing me her house, and I'm walking along with her. And she said, "Aren't you going to take some notes?" And then I realized I had left my yellow pad at a Starbucks. So I raced back to the Starbucks and I asked the barista, do you happen to, did anybody turn in a yellow pad? She said, yeah, it's right here. And she said, I didn't know you were a songwriter. And I said, a songwriter? And she goes, yeah, I showed this to my friend and she said she would love to sing it. And I was thinking, this was just some words that came to my head. And because I had repeated them, she thought that was a chorus, I guess. And so she ended she ended up singing it and it sounded great. So that's kind of how I figured, oh, okay, well, maybe some of these things are songs.
Love it. I know you touched on this, but what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Yeah, I would say know the end first. That's it. And then just get a piece of paper and start writing. And if you need some wine to start, just have fun with it. Just play around with it. And it brings me to how I wrote the chapter. Remember, I said that I was fearful of writing this historical fiction, and actually, the chapter that I wrote, I didn't even include in that book because I had this, in my imagination, Queen Elizabeth in a rowboat in 1588, the Spanish Armada hit, England. And so I imagined her out in this rowboat in the middle of wanting to know what actually is going on. So I had to I was trying to figure out her character, how I would portray her, I guess. And so that was something in my head, and how she would talk and how others might. And so it was kind of like a fun exercise. But so yeah, I would say just have fun with it.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Usually that I've written songs. Like one song, it had 30,000 downloads in 1 month, and when it first came out. Yeah, the name of the song is Kobe, and you can find it on Spotify if you put in my name. And it was just like a tribute to Kobe Bryant, the basketball player. So, it's funny because, it just started out as something I was after I wrote it, I was kind of embarrassed about it. And I kept it in a folder for a couple of months. And then, I don't sing the songs. It's a rap song. So it wouldn't, it's not actually, my singing, my wife said I sound like a drunk Bob Dylan who's keeps insisting he's okay to drive kind of guy. So my voice is not the best, but you can find a singer nowadays online and stuff. And I had I had the melody in mind and how it should go, kind of thing. So
Love that. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
no, I would just say that Courtney, what is your favorite song for the summer? What inspires you for
Well, I have a 6-year-old. By the time this releases, she'll be 7. So we've been listening to the new Descendants 3 on repeat album, and we really like it. I think our favorite so far I think it's called Revenge.
nice?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
what's funny is I will tend to get a song in my head, and especially with kids, they it doesn't stop them that they've heard it 10,000 times. That's what's great about kids too. They will be brutally honest too.
yes. Where's the best place for readers to find your books? I know, or your book. I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, the best way is on my website. It's robertboog.com. You can find the book. The cheapest is on Amazon Kindle. I gave away free copies, trying to get reviews. So, and I was really concerned about that because, after I pressed, do the free giveaway thing, I could almost hear the knives sharpening because there are a lot of Shakespeare lovers who want to believe that Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare, and they can be really harsh too. They'll call anyone who doubts it conspiracy theorist, and all of this kind of stuff. But I look at it like, there's an artist named Banksy, and if you've seen Banksy's work, he's managed to remain anonymous in a time where it's very difficult to be anonymous. Everybody and their brother, even homeless people, have cell phones, and so he just has a handful of his friends and have managed to avoid detection. And I think if he can do it today, why couldn't somebody do it 400 years ago? All they would need are just a few loyal friends, and I think they could pull it off. So,
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we got to interview you. I'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can find you. And again, thank you so much.